New Bloodline member on trial of Roman Reigns on SmackDown. Solo Sikoa, the new tribal chief. Dominic Mysterio's name change attack. Logan Paul UFC debut. Seth Rollins set to defend world title on WWE SmackDown. Former champion set to finally leave WWE after SummerSlam 2023. Randy Orton set to return as part of a massive storyline. Let's jump right into it. Ways Solo Sikoa can turn his back on the Bloodline leader Roman Reigns. Since their loss at Money in the Bank, one would imagine that Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns are in a tight spot. Going into the PLE, Reigns and Sikoa were expected to register a victory against the Usos. However, things took a terrible turn instead. Not only did Reigns and Sikoa lose, but the former also got pinned for the first time in 1294 days. While this is a stat Reigns wouldn't want, another noticeable development was Sikoa's reactions during the match. From what was seen, the young Samoan seemed confused. These reactions by Sikoa led to potential speculations about him betraying the tribal chief. Today in this piece, we will look at 4 ways Solo Sikoa can turn his back on Roman Reigns. Number 4. Solo Sikoa betrays Roman Reigns on SmackDown. This week on SmackDown, Roman Reigns will be put on trial by the Usos. While nothing about the segment is clear yet, one would expect shocking events to take place considering the magnitude of this event. This week's SmackDown will mark Reigns' first appearance on television after being pinned by Jey Uso. It won't be a surprise to see Solo Sikoa turn his back on Reigns on SmackDown this week. After all, last week, SmackDown was the very event where Reigns laughed at the possibility of Sikoa becoming the tribal chief in the near future. While the 30-year-old did not have the best reaction to it, these incidents can lead him to launch an attack on Reigns. If Sikoa is to turn his back on the tribal chief, this is certainly a possibility he could explore. Number 3. These rematch with the Usos midway. Losing at Money in the Bank is something that won't sit well with Roman Reigns. Taking into account the champion he is, Reigns would want to avenge his loss to the Usos. Hence, it won't be a surprise to see him propose for a rematch at SummerSlam or earlier. If that happens, Sikoa can betray Reigns by leaving the match midway. This could be similar to how Shayna Baszler launched an attack on Ronda Rousey and broke her alliance midway at Money in the Bank. If Sikoa chooses to do something like that, not only will it cost Reigns the match, but it would also be embarrassing for the tribal chief. Such a move could also lead to the end of the Bloodline. Number 2. Manipulates Paul Heyman to become new tribal chief. If one remembers SummerSlam last year, one would also remember how after the PLE, Roman Reigns questioned Paul Heyman about his loyalty to the Bloodline. This happened because Brock Lesnar returned unexpectedly at SummerSlam in 2021. At MITB 2, Heyman was seen carrying belts with Lesnar's side plate. This move could somewhere indicate that the wise man has something planned in his mind. In such a scenario, Sikoa could turn to Heyman and manipulate him so that Sikoa can become the next tribal chief. At the end of the day, Solo Sikoa is an individual who will have to look beyond Roman Reigns at some point. Known to be a man of few words, Sikoa could use the help of Paul Heyman to be the next big thing in WWE. Number 1. Cost Roman Reigns his title at SummerSlam. After Jey Uso became the first man to pin Roman Reigns in 1294 days, speculations about a match between Reigns and Jey at SummerSlam began. Not only that, but many also believe Jey could possibly be the one to dethrone Reigns from his crown. While that is something hard to predict, Jey can certainly do it if Solo Sikoa turns his back on the tribal chief. If Reigns defends his title against Jey at SummerSlam, Sikoa can launch an attack on Reigns during the match, which will lead to a great betrayal story. While all this is speculative for now, a betrayal from Solo Sikoa seems evident. For the first time in a very long time, Roman Reigns will have to watch his back from all corners. It will be very interesting to see how the Bloodline story unfolds in the coming weeks. Dominic Mysterio's name change attack. Former WWE manager Dutch Mantel is unhappy with the global juggernaut giving the dirty prefix to Raw superstar Dominic Mysterio. The Judgment Day member was advertised as Dirty Dominic Mysterio in the graphic for his match against Seth Rollins on this week's WWE Raw. The addition to his name makes sense as Dominic often employs underhanded tactics to win. However, it hasn't gone down well with Dutch Mantel, who also famously used the dirty prefix during his days as an in-ring competitor. On Sportskeeda Wrestling's Smack Talk, Mantel stated that he feels like he has been robbed. The former WWE manager also thinks that Dirty Dom doesn't have a nice ring to it. You should say, what does it feel like to be robbed? It was like in the middle of the night and I get up this morning. Oh, I gotta do the podcast. And all of a sudden someone says, hey, they are calling Dominic Mysterio now. What? So I go look it up. That don't even sound right. Dirty Dom. What the hell is that? And he's got the same DDM as Dirty Dutch Mantel. That's bit, said Dutch Mantel. On a recent episode of Sportskeeda Wrestling's Unscripted, Bill Apter stated that he wanted an outlandish turn of events at MITB 2023, with Dominic Mysterio somehow winning the World Heavyweight title. The veteran journalist wanted this to be followed by Damian Priest cashing in his MITB contract and winning the gold. I was waiting for Dominic to somehow get the belt last night in some sort of a really weird way, and then Damian cashes on Dominic and beats Dominic to become the champion. And then LA Knight is his first challenger, said Bill Apter. Dominic Mysterio was in action against Cody Rhodes at Money in the Bank, where he fell short despite Rhea Ripley's best attempts to find a way for him to win. Do you think the dirty prefix suits Dominic Mysterio? Let us know what you think in the comments section below. Logan Paul UFC debut. Logan Paul mentioned he wants to fight a certain controversial fighter if he makes his UFC debut. Paddy Pimblett is one of the biggest rising prospects in the world of mixed martial arts. Paddy the Baddy, as he is fondly called by his fans, holds a professional MMA record of 20 wins and 3 losses, making him one of the best fighters in the world. Despite his professional accolades, it seems like Logan Paul doesn't mind stepping in the ring with him. During a recent episode of the Impulsive podcast, Logan stated that if UFC are able to get Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk to step into the octagon, then he will fight on the undercard for free. I'm curious if Elon Musk and Zuck are fighting because that's what I'm interested in, Paul said. I'll be honest, I pitched it internally. I pitched it to the execs that if Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg fight, I will do my UFC debut on the undercard for free. I'll fight for free for charity. When asked who he wanted his opponent to be, Paul replied that he wants to fight Paddy Pimblett since Andrew Tate doesn't want to fight him. Anyone. You know who I want to fight actually, because Andrew Tate won't fight me. Give me Paddy Pimblett. Give me Paddy the Baddy. In the offseason, that boy looks like a blimp and he'll come up to my weight class and I'll wall-up him. Despite giving it his all every time he steps in the ring, Logan Paul finds himself on the receiving end of a negative reaction from the crowd. Even at Money in the Bank, the fans were booing him despite his incredible performance. Speaking on his Impulsive podcast, Paul addressed this by saying that the fans have no respect for what he does in the ring. These fans go so hard. They have no respect for what I do. I'm sacrificing my body out there. I jumped onto Damian Priest on a ladder, Frog splashed him, and bounced off this human like a trampoline. I felt his rib cage crush under the weight of my 60-inch box jump. They started chanting, "You still skik. You still skik," Paul said. Paul is brave to even want to fight Paddy Pimblett, but given how popular these men are, it will be one of the most anticipated fights in recent history. Do you want to see Logan Paul versus Paddy Pimblett? Sound off in the comments section. Seth Rollins set to defend world title on WWE SmackDown. Seth Rollins won the WWE World Heavyweight Championship and clarified his intentions about being a workhorse champion. He is set to make good on his promise when he defends the title against Finn Balor on this week's taping of SmackDown. The duo have been at odds since the Visionary won the newly minted title. They faced off at the recently concluded Money in the Bank Premium Live event, where Seth retained the title after a slight misunderstanding between Balor and fellow stablemate Damian Priest. However, that was not the end of the feud, as Balor attacked Rollins again after his match against Dominic Mysterio on Raw. The duo will get to settle their differences inside the squared circle this Friday at Madison Square Garden. The arena is set to host SmackDown, which is advertising a World Heavyweight Championship between them. It should be noted that the scheduled match could be a dark match, which is usually taped before or after the show for the live crowd and does not air on TV programming. Seth Rollins has stood up to his words of being a fighting champion, as the Raw star has been actively defending his championship since winning it. While he did not put the title on the line this Monday, he was in action against Dominic Mysterio. However, the match ended in DQ after Damian Priest attacked the Visionary. The Archer of Infamy also looks set to cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase, but Finn Balor came in before Priest could call it and attacked Rollins. The Judgment Day members got into an altercation while the former WWE champion hit Dominik with a pedigree and flip backstage. Seth Rollins is likely to face Finn Balor at SummerSlam for the World Heavyweight Championship, where Damian Priest could play a significant role being the Money in the Bank contract holder. Many have speculated that Balor could dethrone the Visionary at the biggest party of the summer, only for Priest to cash in on his fellow stablemate. Do you think this is the direction WWE is heading towards? Sound off below and let us know your thoughts. Former champion set to finally leave WWE after SummerSlam 2023. WB hasn't even announced the first match for SummerSlam 2023, but that hasn't stopped fans from running wild with predictions on the internet. One of the rumored matches for the show involves a 2-time SmackDown Women's Champion. Another rumor going around is that SummerSlam will mark the final appearance for said former champion in the company. The star in question is none other than Ronda Rousey. The baddest woman on the planet is reportedly set to leave WWE after her feud with Shayna Baszler. The former women's tag team champions are expected to settle their feud at SummerSlam 2023, and that might be Ronda's final WWE appearance. According to Dave Meltzer of Wrestling Observer Radio, Ronda Rousey has informed WWE of her imminent exit from the company. Ronda Rousey has a hard out in her WWE contract and will reportedly leave the company before next year's WrestleMania. Here's what Meltzer reported on the latest situation regarding Ronda Rousey. The thing was, I don't know the date, and it might be SummerSlam, and it might be a little bit after. But the deal is that Ronda has a hard out. She gave a date. This is my last date. I remember talking to somebody there and it was like, well, I know they are going to do this and make the big match for WrestleMania. No, it's like her hard out is they didn't give me the date, but it's long before WrestleMania. Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler put their WWE Women's Tag Team Championships on the line against Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez at Money in the Bank 2023. During the match, Shayna betrayed Ronda. The shocking turn of events allowed Liv Morgan to pin Ronda for the women's tag team titles. The former SmackDown Women's Champion appeared on Raw this past Monday to call out her former her best friend for the shocking betrayal. The Queen of Spades responded with a promo of her own. Fans in the arena were loud for Shayna as she destroyed Ronda on the mic and then inside the ring. The former NXT champion might turn face for the first time in her career due to positive fan reception. It remains to be seen if a match between the two women for SummerSlam 2023 will be announced next week on Raw. Do you want to see Ronda Rousey versus Shayna Baszler at SummerSlam 2023? Let us know in the comments section below. Randy Orton set to return as part of a massive storyline. It's no secret fans have been waiting with bated breath to see Randy Orton return to WWE more than a year after he took time off to deal with back injuries. Many believe the Viper could now make his comeback and team with Matt Riddle and Drew McIntyre to feud with Imperium on Raw. Orton last wrestled on the May 20, 2022 episode of SmackDown when he and Riddle lost their Raw Tag Team titles to the Usos. After months of uncertainty, Kurt Angle recently confirmed that the 43-year-old had recovered from his back surgery and could return imminently. If the comments section of a recent Twitter post is anything to go by, fans think Randy Orton could side with Drew McIntyre and the original Bro upon his return. The Scottish Warrior himself returned for the first since WrestleMania 39 at MITB 2023, where he confronted Gunther after the Intercontinental Champion defeated Matt Riddle. Even on WWE Raw, McIntyre and Riddle stood side by side to confront Imperium. When a Twitter post quizzed as to who should team with the two, the majority of the fans responded by writing it needed to be none other than the Viper. On a recent episode of his podcast, The Kurt Angle Show, the WWE Hall of Famer recalled a hilarious anecdote about the Viper. Kurt Angle revealed that he and Orton were once late to a show, only to find the arena locked from the inside. He added that Randy Orton went as far as to break the window and shatter a glass door to make his way inside and wrestle. One day, I went the opposite way than I was supposed to for about an hour on the highway. Randy's like, "Oh my god, we're going to be late." I turned around and go the other way. We finally get there, and we're an hour late, so we're locked out of the arena. He busting sick on the window, trying to pound on it. Then he kicks it and kicks the window open. The window and the door shatter. He goes in there and wrestles, at Angle. With SummerSlam 2023 inching closer, it's safe to say Orton's return to WWE prior or at the event is sure to receive a massive pop from the crowd. Do you see Randy Orton returning to side with Matt Riddle and Drew McIntyre to take on Imperium? Sound it off in the comment section below. New Bloodline member on trial of Roman Reigns on SmackDown. Roman Reigns is all set to be put on trial by the Usos in a tribal court segment this week on SmackDown. The development comes right after Jimmy and Jey Uso beat Reigns and Sikoa at Money in the Bank. In doing so, Jey Uso became the first man to pin Reigns in 1,294 days. Since the Usos announced that they were putting Reigns on trial, there has been massive speculation about what could possibly happen. One possibility is the debut of an Anoa'i family member during the tribal court session. The man in question is Zilla Fatu. Some of the legendary Umaga, Fatu is a young wrestler who has a lot of potential. Also, the 27-year-old earlier this year teased an appearance with regard to the story of the Bloodline. This makes his WWE debut a real possibility. If Fatu appears on SmackDown this week, it will be interesting to see how he adds to the already interesting story of the Bloodline. With the faction currently short two prominent members, Roman Reigns will look to recruit young blood if he wishes to keep the stable alive. This year's Money in the Bank was iconic for more than one reason. While at entertaining matches and surprise returns, the event will be remembered for another iconic moment, when Jey Uso pinned Roman Reigns for the first time in 1,294 days. Despite giving it their best shot, Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa could not get past the Usos at MITB. While seeing Reigns on the losing side was surprising, seeing him pinned was even more of a shock for the WWE Universe. Less than a week after this match, Jey Uso wrote about it on Instagram. "Had to sit back and realize what we did, what we've done, and what's to come. Regardless, we the ones forever. The real one." What the Usos did at Money in the Bank was truly career-defining. Not only did they beat Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa, but they added so much more interest to the stories surrounding the Bloodline. The tribal court is being held this week on SmackDown, and it will be interesting to see how the story unfolds. With SmackDown going live from the historic Madison Square Garden this week, the outcome is expected to be iconic.
I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I got eyes in the back of my head, I'm seeing. Take me